'Cause I am searching, don't need to look outside myself to know that I am whole. And I've been learning, living through the darkest storms, and I've come into my own. And I am worthy of love. I can learn to love myself just because.
Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Emma G and Dinah. As you know, I am currently on a flight to San Francisco, then to Canada, and then to New Zealand for my book tour. So we are actually pre-recording this today. But we have to re-record this because today's conversation is going to be incredible. We are going to be chatting with, I don't even know how to describe her. She is a doer of many things, a bringer of peace and healing. She is a bit of a fashion icon, I'm not going to lie. I really look to her for some real funky fashion advice because her spirit, her energy, her just the way that she presents herself is fantastic. And I feel like, she also is a really great balance of just energy. And speaking of energy, obviously, hello, Dinah. How are you, my love?
Very well, thank you. So excited to be here today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Bethesda, Maryland. So
Okay.
I'm working, I'm doing my Reiki today. So yeah.
And that's why I was talking about the energy thing, right? Like Reiki.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get to our conversation with our guest today, can you tell people who don't know what Reiki is, what Reiki is? Because I've only had like two sessions of my life and I've not worked with you yet. So please educate us.
Yeah, we got to get that on the books. Yeah. So Reiki is an amazing experience, a modality that stems from Japan thousands of years ago. And it is really working with the energy that we hold within the body. And a lot of the times as we're moving through our day to day, we get pulled in and out of things, and energy, I would say, ebbs and flows. And sometimes energy can get stuck in the body. It's we're working with mind, body, spirit kind of energy as well. And so emotionally, if we're working through stuff and we're not able to process it fully, it gets stuck in the body. You might have heard of that book, The Body Keeps Score. I don't know if you have. Yeah. So it truly is like the body keeps score. So energy gets held in the body. And so what Reiki does is it goes in, it helps clear energy, helps align our chakras, if you will, and really helps us ground into a sense of self and a sense of peace. And so it's just been my honor to learn all of this and share it with other people.
That's awesome.
Stress is real in this world. And so
this is true. It's funny. Sorry, carry on.
Oh yeah. We got to come at it in different ways, right? Yeah. We do songwriting to help release it. We go to therapy. We run, we work out. And I would say that Reiki is just another form to help work with that energy. What we can't
I love
see.
that. I love that. It's funny because I actually referenced the body holds the score in my book, Mental Health Sounds Like This. So I love that you bring that up because obviously Reiki is one aspect of it. And songwriting and music, singing, that's another aspect of it. And of course, you and I will be announcing a special collaboration for something very fun that will be incorporating all of that later on. But I think that the cool thing about, again, our different approaches is that our guest today has another approach, and she's just launched a course and she runs a podcast of her own. She is all about, helping people heal from whatever they're holding on to. Please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our guest, the one, the only, Marya Kazmi. Oh, the crowd goes wild.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Welcome, Marya. This is exciting. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. And what a beautiful intro. I really appreciate that. I felt very seen and I love that. I didn't even think about myself in so many ways. It's lovely to be here with both of you.
We never think of ourselves in so many ways, right? But I
Mhm.
think that's the cool thing about being a creativepreneur or a holisticpreneur is that we have so many different sides to ourselves that we kind of just take for granted, and don't necessarily understand or recognize the impact we have on the rooms that we enter. So, as you know, for those who don't know you, what's Maria's way of introducing who Brown Girl Interrupting is?
All right, so I am Marya Kazmi, also known as Brown Girl Interrupting. I am a daughter of immigrants from Pakistan and Bangladesh, raised in a Muslim family. And throughout my life, I have been interrupting the status quo, which just means I push against ideas and things happening. And the journey has taken me in many different directions, but what I have learned is that when challenging moments come, I turn my pain into my power. So a lot similar to many things I'm sure both of you are doing all the time. But and this journey really started to lift off in my writing when I had left a 17-year marriage that was very manipulative, narcissistic. It was painful and was in a place of just trying to discover myself again. I became the creativepreneur, right? I started writing. I created a talk show. I have a course, and the story keeps going on and on. It continues to evolve every day of how I believe my lessons learned and my professional experience all come together to get us all to have self-empowerment and come home to ourselves in what that means for us individually.
Yeah, I love that. I caught Emma say that you have just launched a course. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and why you decided that this was something you wanted to create and to share with others? I'm very curious because I might want to sign up.
You definitely should, and I would love to have you there. So the course itself is called Empowerment Unlocked. And so you'll notice that everything in my world is about power and empowerment and pain and how do we heal from all of it. The course really came from the years of writing and then the show. And really, I came to realize that along the way, I have been putting tools into place that I have learned from others, from my own understanding of self that have helped me get from the place of this lost woman at 40, not knowing who I was, what was important to me, feeling so much pain and my voice gone, to this empowered woman who is a creativepreneur, right? Like I do all these things and raise 4 children, but it happened through processes. And so I took this whole idea of everything that I have lived, as well as my skills in facilitation and course development and education as an educator of 25 years. And I created the course around my framework, which is called Return. And return is the idea that we are coming home to ourselves by remembering, by examining those patterns that we have, by transforming our mindsets, unlearning our behavior patterns, and then finally nurturing ourselves and giving ourselves grace as we sustain that learning. So the course takes you through 5 weeks of going through that process of what are the things you need to remember about your socialization, about your patterns, about messages you've been given, and which of those have served you and which of those have not. And how do we start to unlearn the mindsets that need to shift and then the behaviors that need to really transform and sustain them.
One of the things that I've witnessed over the last not many years, but the last few years that you and I have been friends, is that you don't just talk about what you do, you really walk the walk. And one of the things that in that space that I have really sort of, I guess, identified with is the way that you introduce yourself. We talk about, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm good. Okay. We talk about, yes, honoring our power, honoring those histories, but you don't even start with that. You start with your story. You start about, with your roots. You start with where you come from, and obviously growing up in New Zealand and Fiji, where where I was raised, we have a very similar kind of way of introducing ourselves. We, talk about where we come from, talk about our history, talk about our connection with source, with the earth, etc. And I think that's a really powerful thing for many people who have lost sense of their identity. I'm not yet 40, but I can imagine that has had a huge impact on how you help people navigate their forward identities. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I love that you elevated that and saw that. So it's something that I learned actually, again, like my combination of my life is all the things connected, but it came from working in the department that I work in a school system. And we really are intentional because, when people say introduce yourself, we generally introduce ourselves with titles, right?
Right.
We say, particularly in the DMV, we introduce ourselves with what we do. And I really think, though, but what we do is we miss who we are in that. And to your point, right, it's really connecting back with the past ancestry and heritage of ourselves. So I'm really intentional because Brown Girl Interrupting, particularly, right, was that like I started with my brownness of just who I am, and it is everything that we are. So like everything I do, the show, the course, any coaching I'm doing is all about our individual identities in culture and the power of identity in how we process the world, how we make meaning of it, how we build relationships or break relationships, and those patterns that we hold on to. So for that reason, that aspect is so important to come as our full selves. Otherwise, we come sometimes a representative or what we think people want us to be. So that's one of my ways of, living in the fullness of who I am and honoring and wanting others to do the same.
Sorry, I like that representative word. I think that might be the name of my next album. Representative.
Yeah. And I'm like using it as a thread because, Brown Girl Interrupting, this podcast is part of the creativity of sharing your experience and maybe bringing in, other people into your world. Like, what was the spark behind that? What was like, oh, I really want to share my story, my energy, and to like, for me, I think when I listen to you, it's like very empowering as a listener. What sparked that in you?
So thank you. I think it was actually multiple things that got there. The empowerment of me was my writing. So before there was the show, it was my writing. And that came from, honestly, like, I think it was just like, I need to process all of this. I need to figure it out. And I realized that I liked writing and that writing was working for me. And I was journaling these things. So why not try to just write it and share it with others? And it started as this tiny little blog that I sent to like 5 friends. and then it kept expanding and those friends sent it to other people and I would meet people. And I was writing about like, how do you heal when your children hate you? Like, how do you get through that when you feel like you don't know who you are and whether or not you even think you're worthy, right? Like, and I was writing very honestly and openly and vulnerably. And along the way of writing, I would meet people who would resonate with my words, but then also share their stories with me. And what I started to realize was that there's a place for this, that we must create a space for storytelling where we hear the stories of others and learn tools of how to heal. And that's where Pain to Power came from. And the other component for me is going back to what you said, Emma, like the idea of culture and identity is that it's critical race theory in many ways, the idea of counter storytelling and the power of seeing someone that you may not otherwise know and understand has that story, but has these very dynamic stories that you can find connection in, but you can also grow and learn from difference. So it connects people together. And then it elevates the story and the fact that I think a lot of times we see the clean, polished version of everyone. Like, here's the finished version, right? Like, here I am. I'm this amazing singer-songwriter, right?
Right.
But what's the story that got you there? Because that didn't happen by happenstance. No one is where they are just because, right? They've gone through things, they've learned things,
Yeah.
and they've applied them. And the truth is, the more everybody hears that, the more everybody can do the same thing. So that's where Pain to Power started. And I'm very excited. We finished we're in 5th season, and we've had over 100 episodes. So,
Golly. Well, that's not inspiring.
Yeah, a lot of stories to share with people.
Yeah. One of the things I really enjoy about your approach to your work, is that you give people a space really to sit in those stories and process that pain or that painful experience or that traumatic history. And I think that is so important in this hustle culture that we live in right now, where we're constantly kind of, yes, this is where you came from, but there's all these other things that you need to focus on instead. Don't look at the Hakuna Matata. It's in the past, right? And as much as that can work for some people, obviously we need to be able to recognize that pain before we can process and turn it into power. What is your process for that pain into power? And I ask that because obviously, as a songwriter and empowerment through songwriting coach, a lot of the messaging that I lead with is, yes, we can, stay stuck in the muck if we choose to, or we can take the bull, turn it into fertilizer, and use it to plant a garden, using songwriting as the methodology. What does that look like for you in your coaching, in your podcast, in your writing, and just the way that you lead by example?
Oh, I love that question. So for me, I think, to your point, it's not just, we can't just move past pain. Like, I just really believe in everything we do that we must first recognize and understand what are the barriers first, what are the things that have challenged us, what is broken things first, what's the root cause, and then decide what do we do with it. So when it comes to healing, the root cause is usually, what are the patterns you've held on to? What are the messages? So have you been like, have you been given the message that overgiving makes you a good person, that people pleasing is what you're supposed to do, and then we break ourselves doing that, or being a perfectionist, or just when we are sacrificing parts of ourselves to be everything to everyone else. And those don't come from a vacuum, they come from patterns. Who gave you that pattern? Who told you that? And how have you then showed up in your life because of it? What decisions have you made? And how do you now make decisions differently? So we have to uncover where those pain points arrive from and why they keep showing up for you, because it's the unconscious. And when we make the unconscious visible, right, it's making the invisible visible. And that's what the goal is to healing for me. And it's, for me personally, that's what I do. That's what I sit and think about all the time, is like, okay, where's this really coming from? What is it I really need and feel right now? And now I can start shifting my story. And then I have more control every time, because now I recognize my patterns when they show up, and I can interrupt them faster and faster every time.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's reminding me of what my teacher, she talks a lot about crossing the crises. And so when you talked about the bypassing, in my world, it's a spiritual space. And so a lot of the times people think, well, if I meditate, or, if I do Reiki, like, I'm getting rid of it. But the idea of, like you said, taking it head on, that edge place is part of our growth. And we have to get to that place in order to cross the crises, so that we can bring, more awareness of our cycles and our patterns, and how we elevate right into the next way that's best for us. Thank you so much for sharing that. When you work with your clients through your program, what are the things that you like? What are some tips that you share with them?
So I think one of which is that get comfortable with discomfort. It's going to be very messy. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to see things about yourself you don't love. And that's the truth, right? I remember those moments, right? I'm sure we all do, right? Like you're like, oh, my ego, it's kind of big. Like I got issues, right? Like, and when you think that something you've been told made you a good person all your life, actually doesn't make you a great person necessarily, right? For yourself and for others, right? So there's discomfort and you're going to lean into that. But I think also the other thing is that this is not a one and done. This is an evolution, and you're constantly going to be learning new things about yourself that that will open new doors for you. So give yourself grace that it might be that there might be moments you make a misstep again. Like there's no perfect one way, right? But you're going to learn. You're going to take a lesson from it every time, and it's going to get easier and faster. I think I actually I just posted something that Emma you sent me, and I loved it this morning. But it's the idea is that the goal is not that you stop having challenges. It's that the time between recovery and getting up decreases every time.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing that, but I'm glad I did. Okay, good. But I mean that theme is so important for so many of us, right? And I know that your podcast, your work is very much focused around adults or, older, more wiser, experienced, seasoned people. My husband will call them. But one of the things that obviously I work a lot with teenagers and young people, and I'm recognizing, and in fact, I had this conversation with one of my clients yesterday who's 14, that embracing of the discomfort, that having grace with yourself is such a difficult thing to achieve, especially in adulthood. I think it'd be really wonderful if we could start to really support those messages for our young people so that they grow into adults who are more resilient, more able to bounce back, more able to get back on the horse. We were doing a songwriting exercise yesterday when I was like, okay, well, in your 14 years of age, what would you say to your 6-year-old self, right? Having that grace with your inner child, and because we all have our inner child, inner adult, and inner teacher within us. With your work, I mean, obviously you're very self-aware in your inner dialogues. How can we support healthy inner dialogue more than just saying embrace the discomfort or embrace the suck or be okay with discomfort? Like, what does that even look like for your audience?
So healthy inner dialogue is not saying the negative about yourself, right? Like having faith and knowing that things are going to be good. And then I think also like really recognizing and knowing who you are. What are the things that make you wonderful and amazing and powerful, right? And so many of our young people get clouded by things and don't see those things. So to your point, I wanted to say, like, I really love that you brought in kids, younger people, because I think for me, I believe that if we did this work earlier in life, if we sat and we had young teenage girls and young teenage boys start having these return conversations, we actually would make it a much healthier adult life for them, right? Like they won't make the major errors that some of us make because we've held on to those things for so much longer, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's the big place, is that it's the mindset of believing in yourself. And that's a hard one. I think that takes a constant everyday shifting because we sit in imposter syndrome. We don't get the answer right if we're a kid, or we are not making friends with everyone. And so we feel like we're isolated, right? Like there are all these things. And truthfully, all those same patterns come up in adulthood, right? Like, and it's shifting the mindset that no, like I'm great at this, I'm good at this, and I'm going to be successful, right? It's putting tools in place that you know will help you get through things because you know yourself so well. So a lot of it is, I think it's knowing yourself in all of the ways that we need to understand the way our brains are thinking, the way we process emotion, the way that we just work better, right? Like, knowing myself, do I like to work with people to be productive, or do I have to do it individually, right? Because that also goes into your healing. Do I need community more, or do I need more individual healing, right? Like, so I think all of that is the messages that I would say are concrete things we can start to do on a daily basis. And then pausing often, like pause, slow down. The faster we move, the more anxious we get. I mean, I got on this call and I know Emma, you and I was like, I was in an anxious space and I was doing the fast, right? And then you reminded me for a moment there, right? Because sometimes again, all of us, even us who do this work regularly, have our own moments of anxiety, have our own moments of feeling overwhelmed and not knowing what to do. And the life starts to hit you. And when we pause and we recalibrate and we remember it's okay. Like I've gotten through every bad day that's come before this, right? I have the tools and it's all going to work out. I just have to believe in myself and believe that it's going to.
Yeah, you've survived 100% of your bad days so far. Keep going.
Great. Oh, what are we looking at here? I love this.
Oh, this is one of my ads from Empowerment Unlocked. Yes, like, and so that's it. Like, this journey is really important to me because I believe the more people who take the time to go through these processes and get the tools for themselves, we feel empowered. We're able to walk away knowing how to take care of ourselves and come home to ourselves when we need to, because life is constantly going to give us challenges, right? Like it just is inevitable. But what do we do with it is really the power.
Yeah. I'm just reflecting on the conversation about the kids because I have 3 kids, and each one of them approaches nervous system regulation in a different kind of way. And I think the number one thing is the self-talk, to pull yourself out of a cycle, right? Or a decline when you feel like you're spiraling. And so I really appreciate you saying that. It's true, more kids, if they have access to, or adults in their life that can share with them how to have access to understanding their emotions and moving through them, just makes for better grown-ups. And yeah, I feel like if I had these tools, it would make moving through the obstacles of life with challenge more graceful and at ease, as opposed to, like you said, we're kind of like our worst enemy sometime when it comes to the mind. But yeah, thank you for just sharing your story with us. And I also want to talk a little bit about the fashionista stuff then.
Wait, actually, before we do, though, can I want to say, because I would love to talk about the fashionista part, but before we do, I just want to say, because Dinah, to your point, I love that you brought up the central nervous system, because yes, that's what it is, right? Like it is your central nervous system getting calm. But I think it's in addition to the emotions, it's the decisions of like self-regulation is also the decisions to make new plans. So thinking of that idea of how perfectionism leads us to think, I have to follow what other people want me to do. I have to get married in this path, and I have to find this career in this thing. And a lot of young people start to get that messaging and then start making those sacrifices in their 20s and their 30s. And then now you live a life that wasn't the one that you really wanted, and that wasn't the one for you.
Yeah, I feel like that's very much what happened to me. The outside world dictated my inside world, and I really didn't know what that was for me until much later, because it took me a while to understand what was helpful for me. We just didn't have that much access, but now we do. And so, yeah. But if we can talk a little bit about, empowering ourselves through the like amazing clothes you wear and the style decisions, like maybe that'll be easier for us to move through the hard times.
But that's a big word too, right? You have to love what you look like when you wake up in the morning. Like even during the pandemic, I was all dolled up. I wore like dress clothes because it made me feel better. Like there's a real thing about like your energy shifting and your positivity because of just the physical way that you take care of yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been rebelling against the norm when it comes to fashion and mindset since I was like 6. So I think, yeah, that rebellion be real. I love this. However, of course, we have run out of time. For those who want to know more about you and register for your course and find out more about your podcast, obviously browngirlinterrupting.com is where to find out all things Marya Kazmi. But before we sign off for the day, Marya, do you have any kind of like words of wisdom that you want to share with our viewers, or a challenge maybe that people can take on for the rest of this week so that they too can start to process their pain into power?
I think the challenge is, and word of wisdom, right? I think the challenge first is that watch yourself, like watch how you move through your world this week and the relationships and the conversations you have, and notice when you're making a decision that isn't really the one you want to make. Are you saying yes to something that you really, really want to say no to? And why? What is it inside you that's compelling you to do that? Is it to please someone else? Is it because you feel like if you don't, they're not going to like you? Like, what is it? And then sit with that and think, is that reality? Or is that something you've created in your mind? Is that something someone's told you you're supposed to be? And how do you start to shift that and bring it back to what is really for you? So words of wisdom, come back to yourself constantly. Just remember who you are and what is right for you by knowing yourself and honoring yourself.
Love that. Love
What
that.
if you've been looking in the wrong places for your answers? What if the clarity you need is already in you? And what if one course could help you unlock it? Let's find out together in Empowerment Unlocked. Join now. Link in bio. That's it. Come join me at Empowerment Unlocked. So follow me at browngirlinterrupting.com, but also Brown Girl Interrupting is my handle on all the social media. And I do individual coaching. I do organizational coaching, because this concept of return can also actually really be applied to the way culture and organization functions when we start to look at structures and practices and policies and how we need to unlearn and transform those as well. So I do all of that. Thank you so much, ladies. This was such a gift and an honor to be in space with you and to have this conversation.
Absolutely. You heard it here, guys. Make sure you follow her. Make sure you check out the website. Until next week, friends, be good, be kind, spread love. And remember, look inside. It's all there. See you guys.
Cause I am searching, don't need to look outside myself to know that I am whole. And I've been learning, made it through the darkest storms, and I'm coming to my own. And I am worthy of love. I can learn to love myself just because